Welcome to IR Magazine's Best Practice video series, where we interview winners from our IR Magazine Awards from around the world. For this video, we are joined by Sophia Wong, Director of Investor Relations and Corporate Communications at Xtep. Sophia, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Tim.
So your company won the prizes for Best Annual Report by Midcap and also Best IR in the Consumer Discretionary Sector at the IR Magazine Awards Greater China 2021. So first of all, many congratulations.
Thank you very much, Tim. And thank you very much for IR Magazine as well.
No, well, congratulations on 2 awards. That's a fantastic achievement. And to start off the conversation, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and your company?
Sure. Actually, right now, I'm the Director of Investor Relations and Corporate Communications of Xtep. I joined this company in 2018 and have been in this position for more than 3 years. Prior to this, I have several roles serving in some of the famous companies in Hong Kong, including PwC, Li & Fung, and Chow Tai Fook. So my background is kind of a generalist and experiences from back-end finance and account, corporate governance, investor relations, to front end, including merchandising, fashion design, and also the strategic planning. Yeah, so this is roughly my background.
Fantastic. Thank you, Sophia. And if we can talk a bit about your award-winning annual report. So the work that you did for this may have been a while ago now, so I'm sort of asking you to cast your mind back a bit. But in terms of the report that you won the award for, can you tell us a little bit about that? Were there any sort of areas you were focusing on in particular, or any sort of significant changes you made to that report?
Yeah, I think definitely our annual report has some big changes in both the design and also the disclosure. Because Xtep in recent years is actually stepping into a new milestone in their history. So as you know, Xtep brand actually established in 2001, and then we are a brand management company and operate in business distribution model, and then for a long time until 2019. So 2019, we think that it's a time we have quite a strong fundamental in both financial operations, and it's about the time to go further for the company. So we actually did 2 big things. One is the joint venture with an American company called Wolverine to run 2 professional brands, including Saucony and also Merrell in Greater China. Second transaction is an acquisition of the global business for K-Swiss and also Palladium, these 2 athleisure brands. So by that time, the company actually transformed into a global sportswear player. And then for the annual report, we think that it served as a very key medium to communicate with the investors. So it needs to be echoed to the change of the company and illustrate the more complicated business in a perfect manner. So that's why in 2020's annual report, we made quite a radical change. Firstly, it's about the design, like we make a square shape design and then make it more rejuvenate, energetic, and dynamic. We also consider more effective to use the images to showcase the brand's DNA. And secondly, and what's more important is about the content. Structure-wise, we divided the brands into the different segments, and then we will talk about each segment and the operations in the MD&A. And then financially, we also disclose the profitability of each segment and try to enhance the transparency of the business when it starts to become more complicated than before.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Sophia. That's really useful just to get an idea of what that report was like. And one thing I wanted to ask you about in particular was, in the report, I think there's a section on IR activity. So I just wondered if you could expand a bit on that. What's that section for?
That session, I think, to the investor, this is part of a recap of what we have done in the past financial years, including the meeting frequencies, the conference, the roadshows that we have done or participated in the past, and also for what activities we organize in the year, so that investors can consider multiple ways to communicate with us in the future. To the company itself, I think it is also a piece of evaluation by the end of the year, so that we can see what we have improved, what we have done last year, and then what we can do better in the next year.
Fantastic, thank you. Yeah, it's really interesting and very useful for us at IR Magazine to find out what you've been up to over the last year.
Thank you.
And then one more question about the report. Do you have any sort of methods for sort of garnering feedback, or how do you look for ways to improve your report year on year?
I think normally we will have some casual catch up with the sell side and also the buy side investors. We will directly ask for the opinions from them. But some investor, we did see that they read the chairman's statement and the rest of the parts in the report and give us the comments. So we are quite proactive in doing this. We also do the benchmark with other companies every year. Perhaps some of them are in the same industry, consumer discretionary, or in the other industry as well, to see what kind of extra items we can do to improve the report in the future. For example, annual report 2021 we just released in March. Because it was like 20th anniversary of the Xtep brand. So in that report, we also include a milestone since the establishment of the business, and then showcase our history to the investors in a more detailed way.
Fantastic. Thank you, Sophia. And that sort of brings us on to the next question I had, which was about your other award. So you also won for Best IR in the consumer discretionary sector. So I wanted to ask you just about, how you think about the sector that you're in. In particular, do you do any other sort of peer analysis work, especially in terms of IR activities? And you mentioned there that you're looking at what people in your sector do in terms of their reports, but are you more broadly looking at your sector when you sort of benchmark your IR activities? And what do you think about that?
Yes, I think we do really benchmark the IR work with other peers. But I think what's more important is that how frequent you communicate with your investors to cater their needs. Because not only from how many meetings we conduct every year and then compare to the others, but also you need to get some IR innovations, particularly during the pandemic when everyone is not going to travel much. So, for example, last year we organized a virtual tour to our shops in China for the overseas investors because they didn't travel, they don't know what happened in China. So we got this virtual tour and they are very excited and appreciate to see our shops in such a way. So this is a very one of the example. And then another one is I think last year will be the Investor Day because we organized the Investor Day in September last year. And then through that Investor Day, we clearly communicate our 5-year development plan and also our financial targets in each business segment. So to explain to the investor in detail how we are going to achieve this. So I think these activities actually are quite impressive to the investors and can give them more confidence to a company that is having transparency more than enough. Because particularly during this kind of pandemic period, that will be exceptionally important.
Fantastic. Thank you, Sophia. Yeah, I think it's been really interesting how companies, have been innovating over the last couple of years. And as you say, especially looking for ways to show their business to investors when they can't actually visit it. And maybe one final question for today. I just wanted to ask you about your sort of plans or priorities for this year. So is there anything you're particularly focused on in terms of your IR activities or any particular IR initiatives that you have going on at the moment?
I think Xtep right now is at a very good track in expanding the business. So top priority will be driving the fair valuation of the stock and also the liquidity. And also to be considered in some of the important index inclusion. Say today, a happy news, today we are just announced to be included in the MSCI China Index. So these kind of things so that it means that we have to keep the momentum and the frequent dialogue with our investors to maintain this. Secondly, I think it's more important about ESG side because many of the investors right now are quite aware of the ESG. So we hope to strengthen this part in the coming years. We did have a board-level sustainability committee to drive the ESG agenda and monitor the implementation of our 10-year sustainability plan. This year, we hope to further enhance the ESG disclosure and also to illustrate our plan in a more effective way to the investors. So at the same time, we will also stay in touch with stock exchange requirement and always benchmark ourselves with other consumer peers or other peers in any other industries to make sure we are keep abreast of the ESG development.
Fantastic, Sophia. Well, that's great to hear about your plans for this year. Congratulations on the index inclusion and best of luck with all of those.
Thank you very much.
And I recommend everybody to watching to go and check out Xtep's 2020 annual report to see what the award-winning report looks like. But I think this is a great place to lead the conversation today. So, Sophia, thank you so much for talking to us today. It's been great to hear about your award-winning reporting work and also your broader IR program. So thank you so much for talking to us today.
Thank you very much, team, and thank you very much, our magazine.